Hi, we're the Copeland clan.
Hi, I'm Gage and I'm 13.
Hi, I'm Gavin and I'm 12.
Hi, I'm Garrison and I'm 15.
I'm Joy.
And I'm Chris.
No ages?
I spent that week praying, God, I don't know what you're doing and why you would call this unadventurous girl overseas.
My name is Chris Copeland. I grew up in the Catholic Church, went to Catholic school, did some searching on my own for a few years, and then my brother invited me to a Christian camp when I was 17, and that's where I gave my life to Jesus in February of 1990.
I grew up with 4 sisters. My dad was an alcoholic. So growing up in an alcoholic home, it was verbal, mental, physical abuse. Living with an alcoholic has a negative side to adventure, and so I don't like adventure at all. But my sister gave her life to the Lord when she was in, I think, 9th grade, and then she started praying for me, and then in March 1990, I gave my life to Christ as well. So Chris and I, for our anniversary, we give each other goals. And my goal for Chris the couple of years ago was, you need to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And so I asked him for the next year to spend some time in prayer about what God would want him to do.
I started praying through that year, and I felt like almost immediately God was saying missions, and I thought, that doesn't make any sense. We just bought a house, and Joy, I wasn't sure if she'd be on board with that. I was afraid of what her reaction would be if I told her that. After about 9 months of wrestling with God, I finally said, okay, God, if this is what you want for us, you better work on Joy's heart so that she's prepared for this. And then as luck would have it.
One day we were walking out of church, and I was just talking with Chris, and I said, hey, do you think we missed our calling? Maybe we should have been missionaries. And Chris just said, yes, let's go. And I went, what? And so I didn't talk to him about that after that, because I'm not adventurous. And I spent the week praying, and God kept pushing, talk to Chris, talk to Chris, talk to Chris. And I was like, fine. So at the end of the week, I talked with Chris, and he told me what God had been putting on his heart. And I was like, oh man. Okay, well, we can wrestle with God, or we can just pick up and go where God calls us. And so
we started praying that God would reveal to us where we should go. We had 3 different conversations with different staff at World Venture, and we told them our background, my growing up Catholic, her growing up in an alcoholic family. And they said, gosh, you should consider Ireland. And we were like, Ireland? Are there missionaries in Ireland? What's going on in Ireland? And 3 different conversations, unrelated, and they all confirmed Ireland. And we were like, okay, God, you must be trying to tell us something. And so we decided to do some research and meet the team, and God really confirmed for us that that's where he wanted us.
So Ireland is about 4.5 million people, and only 1.5% of them are considered evangelical Christians. And the thing that had hit me recently was that there are 72 towns that don't have a church, that don't have a small group Bible study, that have no gospel presence whatsoever. And I really started to think about that, and I thought, that's 350,000, give or take, of people who are not hearing the gospel.
One of the things that we had read, that's only 3 out of every 10 actually attend church. The people who say they're Catholics actually attend church on a regular basis. The churches there are beautiful, ancient churches that they're turning into skate parks and coffee shops. Ireland is abandoning religion faster than every country on earth except for communist Vietnam.
One thing is that there's these cliffs of Moher, and they're huge and they're beautiful, but there's no gate, there's no railing, there's no fence. So that is a huge place where people go and commit suicide.
Yeah, so when we were there, there was an article in the newspaper that was talking about, it was the year commemoration of this, was it 5 teen suicides over one weekend in Galway City, which is where we'll be. And there was an article about it, and they asked the person who runs the suicide hotline in Galway, what do you hear when people call in? And he said, really, it's just a lack of hope. And that, as Joyce said already, that breaks our heart, because Jesus brings hope. So Ireland has the 4th highest suicide rate in the world for men between 18 and 24. And for women, Ireland has the highest suicide rate for teen women in all of Europe. And so, again, like among some of the highest suicide rates in the world. And that hopelessness also leads them into alcoholism. Of the people who drink in Ireland, 50% of them are drinking to excess, to pass out, to harmful excessive drinking patterns. And we have our 3 teen boys, and in Ireland, 1 of every 5 teenagers will already have a harmful excessive drinking pattern.
By the age of 16.
By the age of 16, and they can't drink legally until they're 18 in Ireland. So these are just things that feeds into their lack of hope. So alcoholism, suicide, all of that just stems from there's no foundation for them. There's no faith for them and no hope for them. The church that we're going to be working at was founded in 1998 by World Venture Missionaries. It started as a church in a living room, and it's grown to about 150 people. But the problem that they're having is it's still being run by World Venture Missionary pastors. And so the issue is there's nobody local that will step up and take these pastoral positions. And so I get to go in, and I've had experience leading leadership development groups in churches, and so I get to go in and start a leadership development course for the Irish in hopes that we can kind of raise them up so that the church planting team can hand off the church and plant more.
In probably January of 2015 is when we really hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So about 2.5 years we've been raising support. That's been hard because God's plan isn't easy. God's plan isn't black and white. It's not, I'm going to tell you every step of the way. It's you trust me and trust me to lead you.
Even though it's a struggle, we've also seen really awesome things happen. We got a $10,000 anonymous gift once. We're like, where does that come from? And so we've seen God work even when we're doing our best and it just doesn't seem to be going anywhere. God will say, here's some stuff for you. Enjoy
And we're very open with our boys about how we're feeling that day. And our kids, 9 out of 10 times, will go, God has called us. So we need to remember that, Mom. God's called us. He'll get there. He'll get us there in His time.
So now when we hit difficulties, we go, okay, we know God can. We're just waiting for whether He will or not in this case. And that's how we get through our difficulties.
Yeah. This journey of ups and downs and twists and turns and joys and sorrows and frustrations where you just want to go, it's so worth it. It's worth it because God calls you. It is probably the greatest adventure ever. And coming from a non-adventurous person, I recommend it. And I would do it again. And I'd probably do it the same way because this is how we learn and grow deeper and stronger in our faith.